What does a site supervisor do in construction? In this video, I'm going to tell you a fun little story from when I was in the craft and then transition to management in construction, or I would say becoming a part of the project delivery team is kind of the new way that I'm talking about it. I learned that from Adam Bean. Huge shout out to him. And I'm going to cover the key responsibilities, and people don't typically describe it the way I'm going to describe it now. And I think it's really remarkable because it really differentiates between what a project delivery team is supposed to be doing and what the foreman and workers are supposed to be doing, especially if they're part of trade partner companies as separate entities, but all working together as one team. So if you're interested in that, please stay with us on this video. Okay, so let me get this kicked off. I really am super excited about this. Number one, I want to talk to you about the term site supervisor. The term site supervisor or site manager can mean different things throughout the world. In North America, typically a site supervisor is either going to be a foreman, but not typically, but probably more commonly the superintendent type position. In Europe and other parts of the world, site manager or site supervisor, mainly site manager, is the term they use for a super or PM or that role combined. What I'm basically saying when I say supervisor is anybody that's supervising or has a delivery role on the project site. Typically in North America, that's not the foreman, but the foreman, oh my gosh, they're like the heartbeat of the project. I absolutely adore the position of foreman and the foremen that build all of these projects. But right now I'm talking about a supervisory position. And I want to just tell an introductory story that I think you'll all be able to connect with. If you've been in the craft before, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, you need to know about this. When I was a laborer, and then a finisher and a form setter and an equipment operator, and then at the latter end of me being a worker, lead person, and just for a very brief time a foreman, only about 6 months. I used to think, oh my gosh, these people walking around, I was looking at like the field engineers, the project engineers, the superintendent, the PM, I'm like, they just walk around all day. Like, this is so easy. Like, I could do that, and I'm, shoveling or finishing concrete, and I remember those days. One time we were out in the Victorville prisons, and I wasn't in prison. I was helping to finish concrete, building a prison. I always say I met my wife in prison, and they don't know that she was working for the electrician. I was working for the GC. We were building the project, but it's kind of funny. I met my wife in prison. Anyway, I remember one time we checked the temperature on the roof of these housing buildings, no breeze, dead of summer, 135 degrees, like working hard. And then you see these folks driving around in their Kawasaki mules, checking things behind the toll station, they're lazy. And then I get into the position and I'm like, whoa. Mental stress, I mean, not so much physically, right? But the mental stress, the amount of calories you burn from thinking, the pressure, the emotional intelligence that you have, the hours you work, it's like, whoa. I wouldn't probably go back to finishing concrete or tying rebar, but I would definitely go back to getting on a shovel some days. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm not saying one is harder or easier than the other, but the myth that we have to dispel is that a management or a supervisory position is easy. It's not. And one of the main things that I want to talk about in this video is that it is the workers and trade foreman's job to bring the expertise, the people and the tools and the equipment to go do their work in their area of expertise. And they are the experts. Like, I'm not gonna go lecture a foreman on how to do it. Even when we do the pre-construction meetings and the quality visuals that we are using to install work, that's not to tell the crew how to do it. That's to say, hey, these are the expectations for this specific project, for this specific scope of work. You bring your expertise contractually to meet those expectations, okay? So I love the analogy I've told you before, but like construction is a whole lot like an orchestra or a choir, right? The trade partners are the individual musicians and they are the experts. Like, I'm not going to go tell a violinist, or a violin player, an oboist, or whatever the position or whatever the instrument might be, like how to play their instrument. But what I am going to do as the choir or the orchestra conductor is I'm going to keep everybody on rhythm, right? The facility is clean. They have their comfortable chairs. They have their music stands. They have their music music sheets, they have an air-conditioned environment, a really acoustically perfect environment, and I'm keeping them on rhythm. So it's my job, environment, rhythm, and they come and play their instrument. It's the exact same thing in construction. The foreman and the trade partners, workers and staff are the musicians. They know exactly what to do, and it's my job as a supervisor to make sure they have the environment, rhythm, and rhythm. And what that means is that they have a clean, safe, and organized site, that they have all of the necessary logistical support, that they have the space, the preparation, and most importantly, that they have a tact plan to show how everybody can go the same speed and the same distance apart within their train of trades in a phase. That's the job. So everything I'm about to tell you right now in the list ties to that framework. So I'm going to give you some tips for, if you are a site supervisor, or if you're a superintendent, or even if you're a foreman. Like, these things are good to know back and forth. What are the things that are expected? And I'm going to start, number one, with safety. Now, my perspective on safety is that the trade partners will all come at different levels of, and I'm not saying this negatively or intending it to be negative, but they will come with different levels of experience, different levels of care, different cultures, right? And when I say cultures, I'm not talking about ethnical cultures or ethnicity. I'm talking about crew cultures, right? And so it is the general contractor's job to say, we are all going to elevate to beautiful cleanliness, to beautiful and perfect safety, to amazing organization. We're all going to be wearing our PPE. We are all going to be doing this the same way. Raise everybody up to be A players. And you do that by making sure that people are onboarded and oriented into the project, that they have the right education. In North America, I like to require workers to have OSHA 10 training and certification, and supervisors to have OSHA 30 training and the certification. And once you know they're on site, onboarded, and you're meeting with the workers and the crews every single day, then it's just like, no, it is you will do this or you're not allowed to work on the project. I learned that working on a construction project at Intel. It's super respectful. There is no punishment involved, and it's absolutely amazing. It's the site supervisor's job to make sure that we tolerate nothing when it comes to a lack of safety. And we don't have to do it mean. We don't have to throw our hard hat. We basically are like, I'm going to escort you off site. We don't come back in sight until we're perfectly safe and we're doing the right things. Never be afraid to stop the work of a crew and to stop and talk to an individual. The second thing is long-term and daily planning and coordination. Long-term planning, that's where you're looking at the overall project schedule, the pull plan 3 months before a phase, look ahead planning where we identify and remove roadblocks, weekly work planning where we make commitments, and then day planning, which is one of the most important horizons that I talk about, where we're planning for the next day. And the final thing that I want to say, I've talked about safety, I've talked about the concepts of planning in the different horizons that we have, the planning horizons on the project. The other thing is absolute clarity. Clarity about the vision for the project, clarity about the quality expectations, clarity about how we want to go do this project. Because, we can look at all these things as separate entities, but really it all comes down to clarity. Like, for instance, quality is about knowing the owner's expectations, informing the crew, and actually acting on it. That's simple. Those three things are quality. The culture, that how we want to behave, knowing the expectations, making sure the crew is informed, and then making sure that they're executing on that. And so those are the things that I want to leave you with, high level. Make sure the project site is absolutely stable and safe and organized and clean. Make sure that everybody has a plan and the needed resources, and make sure there's clarity about everything that's going to happen on site, right? The environment and the rhythm. The environment and the rhythm. And if you remember, I'll tie this back. The environment, that's safety, right? And rhythm, that's your planning and that's your clarity, right? Environment and rhythm. Those are the focuses. I'll turn this into a little blog post down below, but if you ever want to, reach out to us. We have lots of really cool things we can share with you, like Elevating Construction Superintendents, other books, mural boards for you. We have what you need when you need it. Reach out to us in the comments below. I hope you've enjoyed this video. On we go.